My name is Natalie, and at 30 years old, I guess I'm still trying to process the sheer audacity. My now ex, Daniel, 32, and I were together for about 3 years. We lived together for the last one in my place. Things had been okay, or so I thought. Maybe a little rockier the last few months. More arguments, him being generally dismissive. I chalked it up to stress from his job. About a month ago, I overheard a snippet of a video call he was on with his best friend Stephen, 29. Daniel was in the living room. I was in the kitchen, and he wasn't exactly quiet. He was going off about me, criticizing everything from my taste in music to how I loaded the dishwasher to making snide comments about my family. It wasn't just venting. It was mean-spirited, almost contemptuous. My stomach just sank. I didn't say anything then. I just kind of retreated, feeling like I'd been punched. Later that week, I tried to talk to him about feeling a bit disconnected. He was immediately defensive. Daniel, what are you even talking about? I'm fine. Okay, well, sometimes it feels like you're not happy with me or the things I do. Oh, so now I can't have opinions? I can't talk to my friends about my own relationship? It's not about that, Daniel. It's the way you talk. I overheard you the other day with Steven, and it was pretty harsh. His face hardened. Look, Natalie, what I say to my friends is my business. I can talk about whoever I want, however I want. It's called venting. You're being overly sensitive. So there's no line for you? No such thing as disrespect when it comes to me, as long as it's to your friends? Natalie, you absolutely can talk to your friends about me if you want. I don't care. It's not a big deal. Then he literally shrugged and picked up his phone, signaling the conversation was over. That was the moment something just snapped. The casual dismissal, the total lack of remorse. It wasn't just that he was saying these things. It was that he felt completely entitled to, with zero regard for my feelings. You absolutely can, I thought. Okay. The next day, Stephen texted me. Hey, can we talk privately? We met for coffee. He looked uncomfortable. Natalie, I need to tell you something. Daniel, he says a lot of stuff about everyone, not just you. And honestly, I'm kind of sick of it. It's gotten worse lately. He then admitted that sometimes, when Daniel got really wound up and contradictory, he'd started recording snippets of their calls, mostly audio, sometimes screen recordings if Daniel was showing texts from other people and then trashing them. Stephen said it started as a way to keep track of Daniel's shifting narratives, because Daniel would often deny saying things or twist them later. He said he had hours of Daniel just being awful about his job, his other friends, even his own family, and yes, plenty about me. Stephen looked genuinely conflicted. I feel like a terrible friend for even telling you this, let alone recording anything. But the way he spoke to you after you overheard him, and how he talks about you when you're not there, it's not okay. He told me you were being super controlling for bringing it up. I was floored by Stephen's confession, but also validated. I told Stephen about Daniel's I can talk about whoever I want line. Stephen just shook his head. That's Daniel. That night, I ended it with Daniel calmly. Daniel, this isn't working. Your attitude toward me, the things you say, I'm done. He was actually surprised, then annoyed. Seriously? Over that little conversation? You're being dramatic. No, I'm being serious. We're done. I'd like you to move out, Daniel. Wow, fine, whatever. He seemed more irritated about the inconvenience than the breakup itself. No sadness, no questions, just entitlement. Like I was a minor inconvenience. I ended it with Daniel about 10 days ago. He moved most of his stuff out a couple of days later, huffing and puffing. In the days that followed, Stephen and I kept talking. He was a huge support, and honestly, we connected on a level I hadn't with Daniel in a long, long time. Stephen felt guilty about Daniel, but Daniel had apparently been a pretty toxic friend to him for years, and this was the last straw for him too. 3 days ago, Stephen and I had a long talk and acknowledged there was something more between us. We decided to officially start seeing where things went. Dating, I guess you'd call it. The next evening, 2 days ago now, Stephen and I went out for dinner. Public place. We weren't being overtly couple-like, but I guess someone Daniel knows saw us. It must have taken a day to get back to him, because this morning my phone absolutely exploded. All Daniel. Voicemails. Texts. How could you? With Stephen, my best friend, you absolute snake. I knew you were trying to get with him. This is the ultimate betrayal. Both of you are disgusting. The irony is so thick I could spread it on toast. He can say whatever he wants about me, but me moving on with someone who actually treats me with respect, someone he alienated himself? Unacceptable betrayal. Stephen's getting it too, apparently. Daniel's sister, Rebecca, 28, has also jumped on the bandwagon. sending Stephen abusive messages. So yeah, this is where we are. He wanted no big deal. Let's see how this plays out. Update 1, 2 weeks later. All right. So it's been a couple of weeks since Daniel found out about me and Stephen. The meltdown was, and continues to be, spectacular. Thanks for the comments on the original post. Good to know I'm not the crazy one here. Daniel's initial barrage of calls and texts eventually died down when I just stopped responding directly. I think he expected me to engage, to argue, so he could play the victim. When I didn't, he moved on to phase 2, the smear campaign and flying monkey deployment. His sister Rebecca became chief attack dog. Rebecca started posting vague, passive-aggressive stuff on social media. Oh, watching someone I love get betrayed by 2 people they trusted is sickening. Some people have no loyalty. Blah, blah. A few of Daniel and Rebecca's mutuals started giving Stephen the side-eye online. Stephen's pretty tough, but it clearly bothered him. Then Daniel started messaging our wider circle of acquaintances. Not even mutual friends, just people we both knew. His narrative: I was a manipulative monster who was probably cheating on him with Stephen for ages. And Stephen was a backstabbing user who preyed on me in a vulnerable moment to break us up. According to Daniel, he'd been suspicious of Stephen for months. It was almost impressive how quickly he spun it. Conveniently, his own charming habit of trashing everyone was never mentioned. The entitlement is just breathtaking. Last weekend, Daniel's mom, Mrs. Morgan, first name Laura, actually called me. Natalie, dear, I know things are tense, but Daniel is just heartbroken. You know how sensitive he is. With all due respect, Mrs. Morgan, Daniel ended things with his behavior long before I officially did, and his sensitivity doesn't give him a pass to treat people badly. But Stephen, his best friend, don't you think that was a bit cruel? Perhaps you could just cool things off with Stephen for a while. Give Daniel some space to heal. I was dumbfounded. You want me to stop seeing someone I'm happy with to placate Daniel, who explicitly told me he didn't care what I did or who I spoke to? Well, he didn't mean it like that. Natalie, he was upset, and Stephen should have known better. Friends don't do that to each other. Friends also don't constantly berate and belittle their partners and other friends. Daniel made his choices. Stephen made his. I made mine. She huffed, said I was being very unfeeling, and hung up. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I guess they genuinely believe Daniel is the sole victim here. Stephen, meanwhile, has been a rock. The attacks from Daniel and Rebecca and the cold shoulder from some of Daniel's clique initially made him second-guess everything. He felt immense guilt over those recordings. Maybe I am a terrible friend. Maybe I should have just deleted them and never said anything. Stephen, you recorded him because he was being a bad friend to you. You told me because you saw him being a bad partner to me. His actions caused this, not yours. The turning point for Stephen's guilt came last week. Daniel, in a fit of pique, sent Stephen a string of absolutely vile text messages. Not just "you betrayed me," but personal attacks on Stephen's appearance, his job, his family. Pure venom. Daniel even wrote, I gave you my friendship and you spat on it, you ugly, desperate loser. Natalie will get sick of you too. Stephen just stared at his phone. Then he looked at me and said, okay, I'm done feeling guilty. He's shown his true colors one too many times. He still wasn't sure about the recordings. He said it felt wrong to use them, like stooping to Daniel's level. It's not about stooping, I told him. It's about truth. He's actively trying to destroy our reputations with lies. We have proof of his actual behavior. We don't have to release them to the world, but maybe to the right people if he keeps pushing. Then came the first dirty trick. I volunteer at a local animal shelter on weekends. Suddenly, the shelter coordinator, a lovely older woman named Cynthia, got an anonymous email. It claimed that I had anger issues, had been seen behaving erratically, and might be unsuitable for working with animals or the public. The email was clearly designed to get me kicked out. Cynthia knows me well enough and just showed it to me, concerned. The phrasing had Daniel and Rebecca written all over it. Erratic behavior is one of their favorite dramatic terms. That was when Stephen said, okay, Natalie, enough is enough. If he's going to play dirty like this, the gloves are off. How do you want to do this? The recordings, we hadn't used them yet, but they were officially on the table. Daniel really had no idea what he'd started. He thought he could control the narrative. He was about to find out what I can talk about whoever I want really means when his own words come back to bite him. Final update, 2 months later. It's been a ride. After that anonymous email to the animal shelter, Stephen and I decided we weren't going to just sit back and let Daniel and his crew run a smear campaign based on total fabrications. Daniel truly believed he was untouchable, and that his version of events was the only one people would hear. He underestimated Stephen. and he definitely underestimated how tired people were of his antics. So the revenge, if you want to call it that, wasn't some big dramatic public reveal. It was strategic and quiet, tailored to counteract Daniel's specific lies with his own words. First, there was our mutual friend Kathleen. Daniel had apparently been feeding Kathleen a steady diet of Natalie was so controlling and Stephen is a homewrecker stories. Kathleen started acting distant toward me and Stephen. So Stephen, with my blessing, sent Kathleen a very carefully selected 2-minute audio clip. It was Daniel, a few months back, absolutely shredding Kathleen for forgetting his birthday for half a day, calling Kathleen a thoughtless, selfish cow, and mocking a personal issue Kathleen had shared with him in confidence. It was followed by another clip of Daniel telling Stephen how he kept Kathleen around for entertainment. Kathleen called Stephen within the hour, horrified and apologetic. I had no idea. He always played the victim with me too. The things he said about you, Stephen, and now hearing what he said about me. That friendship imploded spectacularly. Kathleen actually posted a very cryptic, "Be careful who you trust" status online. It was a very convincing message. Daniel probably thought it was about us. Oh, the irony. Next was Daniel's attempt to mess with Stephen's freelance graphic design work. Daniel knew some of Stephen's old clients. He started subtly suggesting to one of them, a guy named Donald, who runs a small marketing agency, that Stephen was unreliable and going through a lot of personal drama. Donald hesitated about giving Stephen a new project. This time I sent Donald an email. "Hi, Donald. Heard there might be some concerns. Just wanted to share something that might provide context about where these concerns could be originating." Attached was a short screen recording Stephen had saved. It showed Daniel complaining to Stephen about how boring and stupid Donald's design requests were, how he'd overcharged Donald because he was clueless, and how he'd been stringing him along for easy money when Daniel used to do some minor freelance work for him years ago. Donald's reply was swift. "Consider Stephen's project confirmed, and thank you. This is eye-opening." He also mentioned he wouldn't be engaging Daniel for anything ever again. The biggest fallout came via Daniel's family. After Mrs. Morgan's call to me, Daniel's dad, Mr. Morgan, first name Stephen, decided to weigh in. He was more direct, basically telling me I was dishonoring Daniel and needed to correct the situation, strongly implying I should apologize and dump Stephen. This time, Stephen and I sat down and compiled a greatest hits collection of Daniel's commentary about his own family. Snippets of him calling his parents clueless boomers who just enabled Rebecca's laziness, complaints about how they never gave him enough, despite them paying for his car and half his rent when he lived alone before moving in with me. Detailed rants about how Rebecca was the favored child who got away with murder. We didn't send it to them directly. Stephen sent it to Daniel's aunt, Sharon Morgan, with whom Stephen had always had a decent relationship. Aunt Sharon was apparently known for being no nonsense. We heard through the grapevine, via Kathleen, who still had some tenuous connections to that extended family, that Aunt Sharon played some of those clips for Mr. and Mrs. Morgan. The story goes that they were mortified and speechless. Their attempts to defend Daniel apparently faltered when faced with his actual recorded voice saying those things. The smear campaign died a very quick death after that. Word got around. People who had initially sympathized with Daniel started backing away when they realized his victim narrative was full of holes and that he was just as vicious about them behind their backs. His circle of friends shrank considerably. Rebecca is still staunchly teamed up with Daniel, of course, but her rants now mostly fall on deaf ears. Daniel himself is furious, naturally. He sent a few more sputtering texts about privacy invasion and "how dare you record me." Again, the irony. Stephen just replied with a screenshot of Daniel's original text. "I can talk about whoever I want, however I want. It's called venting." Daniel had no comeback to his own words. He had to move into a smaller apartment. Apparently, his parents tightened the financial support after everything came out. Last I heard from Kathleen, Daniel is still complaining to anyone who will listen about how everyone betrayed him and how Stephen and Natalie ruined his life. Zero self-awareness, zero remorse, just pure, uncut entitlement. He genuinely believes he did nothing wrong. Stephen and I are doing great. It was a trial by fire, but it solidified us. We communicate, we're honest, and we actually respect each other. My apartment feels peaceful now, quiet in the best way. We even adopted a cat from the shelter. Cynthia was thrilled. The anonymous email is now a running joke. The revenge was never about destroying Daniel. It was about protecting ourselves and exposing the truth in a way he couldn't deny because it was his own voice. He wanted to talk about whoever he wanted, and he did. Those words just had consequences. He built his own cage. We just helped him find the door. The best part is the silence. No drama, no accusations, just peace. Time to fully move on.